How's it going, guys? And welcome back to the channel. Now, I need to apologize. I know this review is kind of late, really late, but I've been busy, just playing everything that's been out. This Fallout 4, a little bit of Destiny here and there. So I've really been busy playing games, but I really wanted to get a review done for this game, as well as one for Siege that I'm wrapping up now as well. So, again, apologize that it's a little late getting out to the channel, but I wanted to get this one done and one more done before the new year. And then I'm also getting ready to start all of my end of the year lists, my top 5 favorite games, top 5 disappointments, most anticipated games, things like that. So with that said, we'll go ahead and we'll jump right in here to the review of Star Wars Battlefront. I think we all know it was developed by DICE, published by EA. It can have anywhere from 1 to 40 players. So you have a single-ish mode, which we'll go into a little bit more further in the review. And then you have obviously multiplayer. It does come with a season pass. Right now they're advertising 4 expansions, new locations, new modes, early access to things, and some emotes. Don't have any other further descriptions on what you're going to get in the season pass, even as of today. The game's been out for probably going on almost a month or so now, but still don't have a whole lot of information. And actually, as of the 8th of December, the free DLC, the Jakku Battle Jakku, had just dropped as well. So DLC is already starting to come out. There's some other things for it. The price of the game, obviously, again, not really. I mean, none of this information is really going to be a shock or new information for anybody, but retail price is $60, all the way up to $119, $120 for the special edition. And actually came with a cool little mini fridge that looked like Han Solo encased in carbonite. Thought that'd be kind of cool to have as well. But that's kind of the hard facts of the game as far as the details. And I'm not gonna lie, my initial thought going into this game was that it was essentially going to be a reskin of Battlefield, just with Star Wars characters and locations. And to a point, it kind of is. But I think if you're a Star Wars fan and you want to get that feeling of being in Star Wars, I think you're gonna like this game. You'll like it if you haven't played it already. But there's a lot of things that were wrong with this game and a lot of things that could have been done differently that I think if you're a fan of the Battlefront games from way back when, you're probably not going to like this one as much as you did those. So we're just going to go ahead and jump into some of the more other details as far as the modes and everything are concerned with the game. Like I mentioned, you get a single player experience. You get they call it missions within the game. It's not an actual single player campaign per se. You get training, battles, and survival. Training is going to be essentially a tutorial mode. Battles are basically scripted type, either PvP or PvE type fights on maps where you have to get coins and do different things and achieve different things as you're doing it to gain stars. And then survival is essentially horde mode. You're also going to get multiplayer. With multiplayer, you actually get quite a few modes within this one. You get Walker Assault, which is the big 20v20 maps. Turning Point, which is another 20v20 map. Heroes versus Villains, which is a team of 6-on-6. 3 players get to play as heroes. The rest are regular soldiers, and you just fight until a certain amount of wins. Fighter Squadron, which is air combat. Supremacy, Blast, Cargo, Drop Zone, Droid Run, and Hero Hunt. To be honest with you, I only really play 3 of these modes: Walker Assault, Heroes vs. Villains, and Fighter Squadron. I think you get a really nice mix of all the other modes within those 3. You get the vehicles in Walker Assault, the big air, land, big action set pieces. Heroes and Villains, you get to play the heroes more often within a game than you do in Walker Assault. And then Fighter Squadron, if you just want to play a game where you're flying a TIE fighter or an X-Wing or an A-Wing, or an Interceptor, something like that, those are going to be the modes that I think you should really focus on if that's what you're looking for. Because really, all those other modes just kind of pull pieces individually in and out of those three, and they put it on kind of a smaller scale. So those are the modes within the game as well. I want to start off with things that I don't like about the game, because honestly, that list is a little bit longer than the things that I do like, because I want to end on a positive note. I don't want you guys to think that I truly hate this game, or I think this game is horrible, or isn't a game that you shouldn't play or buy or anything like that. It's just like I had mentioned at the beginning, there are some concerns, there are some issues with the game that I feel need to be pointed out, and I feel could be a pretty big deciding factor if you're still on the fence even after about a month or so of buying this game. Um, so one of my issues is the party system, or the squad system. Trying to set that up within the game is kind of tedious at times. In the top left hand corner, you'll have your friends list or whatever will populate at the top. Your squad will populate at the top, and then you have to try to invite everybody through there. But sometimes the invites don't pop up. Sometimes you don't see them. If you get your squad together and you take them into a game, sometimes they don't all come to the game with you. It just seems like such a hassle to have such a it's called a watered down way of putting together a team within the game. I think they should have relied more on the actual party system or something similar. This is going to sound bad, but something similar to the fire team system on how they built that in Destiny. It would have been nice to see something like that here. Um, I think with that it's not a huge thing, and I don't think that it breaks anything by means, because you can always use your party system through the Xbox or your PS4. It's just kind of a pain to try to get everybody to play together at the same time. I think, like I had mentioned earlier, my biggest fear coming into this game was going to be is it just a reskin? I played the beta, got a feel for it there. I do kind of feel that it is a reskin of Battlefield. Obviously, instead of tanks, you have ATSTs. Instead of machine guns, you have blasters. But I think it's a reskin with not as much customization to go along with it. I think the lack of being able to add attachments or change anything with the guns kind of narrows what you use. I mean, people only really use 2 or 3 blasters. There's not a big wide range of blasters being used in the game. The character customization is just limited to visual things. I can have a stormtrooper with a helmet on, and a girl stormtrooper with black hair instead of brown hair, an old stormtrooper, an old rebel, and then eventually, once you hit level 50 with the Empire, you can get 2 different types of stormtroopers. You get one of the speeder stormtroopers, and then a black stormtrooper, like an elite stormtrooper. And then with the rebels, I believe it is 30, 40, and 50, you get some of the alien characters from the movies too. So it's very limited in its customization on what you can do. I mean, it has a nice little selection of different cards and different little gadgets and stuff you can put together, but that's really its peak of customization as far as character builds. So it's just kind of disappointing in a game that's essentially a reskin of Battlefield, but it's kind of like a light reskin. It's just they didn't take everything from it, which I guess you could say is a good thing, because you didn't directly copy it and just change it to Star Wars. But at the same time, if you're not going to alter the way it feels, why did you take out the customization? I would rather them have changed the way that it felt, but then still allow us to customize our character the way that we want. Because now, like I said, you're going into a game where essentially everybody's just using the same, 1 or 2 blasters, the same 1 or 2 little gadgets, and that's about it. I mean, most lobbies I run into, most people are either using the homing missiles, the snipers, and occasionally a jetpack as your gadgets. And the blasters, I believe it's the T-22 gets used a lot. The last blaster, which you have to be at like level 25 to get, that gets used a lot. And there's just very few of them that are being used throughout the game. I mean, there's not very many to begin with. But when you're only, most of the community is only using one or two, it's just, there's no variety. I feel no attachment to my character. I don't feel like this guy is me. Whereas in Battlefield, yes, I got to pick my class. I'm a support, I'm a medic, I'm this, I'm that, whatever. But I can build my gun the way I want. I can put whatever scope I want on there. I can put a grip. I can do this. I can do that. Here you can't, and I don't know if if requesting that is asking a lot in a Star Wars game, but it just feels like that's something that could have been placed in there to just add a little bit more, a customability to it. Customability, if that's even a word. But anyway, I think that another issue with the game is, especially in Walker Assault, you don't really notice it in some of the other modes. Walker Assault is probably the biggest one where this is a pain. Uh, the heroes and the vehicle spawns, the time for them to spawn is it's just way inconsistent. There's sometimes where they'll show up, 30 seconds of the match, bam, somebody's already a hero, bam, somebody already has an ATST, and then it takes forever for them to show back up. Now, some of them, the heroes are based off of how many are out there on the board actively, because I believe only one from each team can be out at the same time. But the vehicles seems like you'll see one, and then 2-3 minutes later you'll see like two ATSTs, or you see two A-wings. The spawns are so inconsistent, and most people just camp them anyway. So it's just frustrating because you're out there trying to play the objective, and you're fighting, 4 or 5, rebels at a time, or 4 or 5 stormtroopers at a time, and you're by yourself because everybody's just camping them. And then the heroes are insanely OP. All 6 of them are. I think they don't. I don't think you necessarily need to nerf their abilities or anything. Which at the time of me doing this review, they actually are getting ready to release a nerf that is going to take away the homing missile from Boba Fett, which I think is stupid, but that's something that they're going to do. I think what they needed to do, as opposed to nerfing them, is just decrease the spawn times, because it was where, like I mentioned, you only saw an AT-AT or an ATST or an A-wing every so often. It almost felt like every time a hero died, another one was coming in, and it just got way excessive. And again, like I said, I believe the way that they work within the game is once one is out, another one won't come out for that team until you've killed that one. But it was just like, okay, I just killed Luke Skywalker, and bam, Han Solo is out there now. Or I just killed Darth Vader, and bam, Boba Fett's out. And they're just so overpowered as far as they have so much hit points and so much power behind their attacks that literally you can play an entire game and just destroy the other team if you play it right, which I understand isn't a bad thing as far as tactics, but when you couple that with the fact that if somebody does happen to kill one, they're just right back in. And it almost seems game-breaking at times sometimes. And I was able to play a match. Unfortunately, I didn't get it captured for this video, where I played Boba Fett. I was 34, 35 kills before they finally killed me. So it's just, again, I don't think you should nerf their attacks or their abilities. I think you should just decrease the amount of time between when one dies, another icon appears, because it just seems like they're out there too much, too fast. And again, it's just players camping them. So it just turns into people sitting around doing anything, and the next thing you know, it's you and 2 other guys against 15 other guys. It breaks the mode, I think, almost. I don't know if it needs to be like, if you achieve something, maybe you get it, or if it's on a rotating thing through the team, where each player gets to eventually be one. I don't know how you fix it, but it just feels to me like there's something wrong with that. Along with the nerfs and buffs of the heroes, I think the time to kill on some of the weapons and some of the gunplay is kind of inconsistent. There's sometimes where you use a gun like the T-22, where it's got really high damage, fire rate's really not all that great, and I'm hitting people at range, and that's where it's effective, but I'm getting shot by a lesser gun from just as far, and I'm dying faster. It just doesn't seem like the weapons are very consistent across the board. So I do think there's a little issues with those. Um, and then lastly, I think my personal biggest concern or biggest complaint with the game, and I know it's been a lot of people's other complaints and dissatisfactions with the game, is the lack of a real single player mode. Uh, I've always thought it'd be a cool idea if they put out a game like COD and only attached multiplayer. I figured who honestly plays the single player campaign? Why do we need it? Just put multiplayer. Put all the money you have into that. Now we get a game where essentially they did that, and this is a first person shooter that they put most of their money into the multiplayer. Obviously, nothing into single player, and it just feels like it's half a game. So I have to correct myself and kind of take one on the chin, if you will, on that kind of thought. It it just sucks to not have an actual single campaign. It would have been really cool if they somehow made this story mode, did a campaign mode to bridge you know Return of the Jedi to episode 7. So if it just would have been nice had they done that. They don't have to go all the way up there. They could have left some stuff to be open because obviously at this time, Han Solo, Princess Leia, they're older in that movie. They're supposedly going to be older in 7, so you're not going to be able to go completely to it, but just bridge that gap of kind of what's going on. Or just make it another story within the original canon that's already out there. Just something, anything that kept us playing the game and just getting the lore and the story and the experience of Star Wars. Essentially, just having a story mode and like tactical mode with one or two players. It seems very lacking to me. It seems like they wanted to do something with it, and then at the last minute decided, no, we're just going to put all of our focus into the multiplayer and that experience, and that'll really be about it. So that's a little frustrating to me. But with all that said, there are some things that I do really like with the game. Walker Assault and Heroes versus Villains are probably the two best modes within the game. Walker Assault doing those big, epic, open world or open map battles with ATSTs, A-Wings, X-Wings, TIE Fighters, just big turrets and cannons and just everything, just big mass chaos. I really like that experience because I think it changes your mindset going in it. You can't do the run and gun, run around like you do with a game like Call of Duty or anything like that. You have to be a little more tactical with your movement. You have to stay out of the outside. You have to pick and choose your spots when you go into the middle. So I really do like that aspect of Walker Assault. Heroes versus Villains. Well, I said one of my biggest complaints is you don't get to be the hero or the villain very often in Walker Assault because all people do is camp that. Heroes versus Villains changes that for you. Like I said, it's a 6v6. Everybody gets to be either the hero or the villain quite a few times. First 1 to 5 wins. It's a pretty intense mode. The games aren't very long, so that's pretty nice. And it's just fun to be able to experience each one of the heroes and play with their mechanics. Boba Fett's my favorite out of all of them. Han Solo's my favorite rebel, but it's just fun to be able to use all of them and get a chance to actually play with them a lot more than you normally do. I would have to say probably one of the biggest pluses with the game, and I hope it comes through well in the video, is this game looks absolutely amazing. Every map you play on looks absolutely gorgeous. The Hoth map on Walker Assault makes you feel like you're actually there. There's another map where you fight on Endor and the Ewoks are out there running around. They don't unfortunately help you. They're just more of NPCs within the world. But you get to see them out there and you're up there running around in their trees and doing everything with them. It just, if you're going for a game solely on the fact that you want to play a game in the Star Wars world and feel like you're in Star Wars, like you're part of it, this is an amazing experience as far as atmosphere, visuals, things like that. It makes you feel like you are a part of Star Wars. And I think that's huge if you are a huge Star Wars fan. If you're looking for a Star Wars story, you're not going to find it here. But if you want to feel like you're in it, then you're going to be there. Excuse me. I need a cough there. But overall, man, I got a real bad cough. I apologize. Overall, I think some of the positives outweigh some of the negatives. But negatives like a lack of a single campaign, a lack of any real single campaign at all, a lack of customization within your character, um, essentially just being a reskin of Battlefield, at least in my opinion. I think that kind of brings the game a few steps back than where it could have been. Visually and experience wise, it nails everything to a T. At least I feel. But $60 and all you're really getting is a pretty picture and maybe a little bit of like, oh, look, nostalgia, that, memories from our childhood. I don't know if that's enough to justify $60. So I'm going to say Star Wars Battlefront, my final grade for it, my score and the overall score, I'm going to be the same. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. And I think a 6 out of 10 is being pretty generous because, again, I was a huge believer in make a game a first person shooter game. People only play the multiplayer, only focus on that. And then we get it, and it just you kind of lose interest in it pretty quickly. Unless you're a hardcore Star Wars Battlefront player or a hardcore COD player, if those games don't come with something else to kind of give you a little variety of gameplay, a little variety of things to do, I just feel like you're going to lose interest in it pretty quick. So overall, I'm going to say a 6 out of 10. Man, excuse me. A 6 out of 10. And that's going to be on the high side. I almost went with a 5 out of 10, but I'm going to go with 6 because I do have fun playing it. I do enjoy the game. There are parts about it that I like. There's just too many things to have the positives try to outweigh it. So there's my review for Star Wars, guys. Again, I apologize for it being so late. I apologize for me getting kind of a battle on a scratchy throat here the last few days, so I apologize about all the coughing there. But I really wanted to get this video done done as soon as possible, because, like I said, I want to do a review for Rainbow Six Siege, and then I want to start to get working on those other videos for the first of the year. So, again, guys, thanks again for your support of the channel, for the support of your page, and I'm really excited and I'm really happy for what this year has brought me and what this year has allowed me to do with the channel. And I'm really excited for what I'm going to be able to do, hopefully, in the coming year. So, again, guys, like I said, thank you very much. Thanks for your time, and I will catch you guys next time.